join me regularly, welcome. And for those whose first time it is, hope you enjoy tonight's show. Tonight I'm going to talk about, I'm going to just jump right in too, right? Because, I really thought that this article and this story spoke for itself, and that I really didn't need to say much about it. But because of events that have been taking place around the country, and the way they've moved the military in all over the country into all the strategic locations and are practicing to take over the country, I think that this story jumps right back into the forefront. And this has to do with Jane Burgermeister filing against the World Health Organization and the UN for bioterrorism and murder. Now, the reason why this story to me is so important is I happened to get an email from Shepard Ambeles, I believe that's how you say his last name. He was on Alex Jones, a guest, and he brought in the footage out there in Arizona of all the mass graves, where they can put about 130,000 bodies in the ground down there in Arizona. And that brings us back to, see, pandemic level 6, okay? Now, it's this, let's talk about Jane first, okay, and I'll get into pandemic level 6. Jane Burgermeister's charges consist of this, right? That the UN, the United States, Canada, and England together, but mainly Baxter and Novartis, which are huge pharmaceutical companies, conspired to use a bioweapon on Americans, Canadians, well, basically around the world, to reduce population. And the evidence is this, that a bioweapon strain of bird flu was sent out to other labs and intentionally mixed with human flu in an effort to create a super contagious flu that they could administer via vaccine for this phony swine flu that's out and bird flu over in Asia. And they were going to use this vaccination to administer this new super deadly virus and thereby achieve their goal of reducing the population by around half. Their goal is 90% by 2012. So a move had to be made between now and then. So, and this lady apparently has the evidence, and I'm going to link the articles to it because it really lays it out well, and there is definitely something to this. Now, getting back to Shepard, right, his video, and I got some footage here, he told me to go ahead and put it in. I've used it a couple times before, too, and I'm going to show it to you now. But what I want to talk about is that, yes, you've all seen this footage, but are you aware of that there are 4 areas, like in Georgia where all those plastic coffins are? There's 4 other areas equally as large or bigger full of coffins throughout the Midwest as well. And I'm going to insert some of that footage in here as well so you can check that out. But we're talking in the millions of coffins here, people, in the millions. And that's not even to do with these concrete vaults, right? These concrete vaults ordinarily will hold 4 military caskets inside each of them. But without the caskets, of course, you can just load bodies in there about 40 deep. Okay? But what I want you to see is that in Texas, they have a setup there that makes this one out here in Arizona look tiny. Okay? They've got 4 areas the size of the one in Arizona. And I'm going to put some footage in here so you can get a load of that, because that's like storage for 300,000 bodies or so. And those aren't the only places either, right? I got footage out here in California where they build these giant mausoleums. They're like death houses where you just insert coffins into them. And you'll see this thing's like 8 stories high by 300 yards long. Plus they have the concrete caskets just lined up for, it looks like 1,000 yards just to build, just to steady build these mausoleum things. And this is out here in California, right? And so I think you're getting a picture of what's going on, right? I also have some footage in here of New York. I'll drop that in. And there's coffin footage. The coffin footage is, of course, in there's Atlanta, there's Madison, I have some out here in Indiana, and there's also some in out by New York. And I will insert all of those links to videos where you can go look at them. And of course, the actual footage is right here in the video. So what you're seeing here, right, is storage for many millions upon millions upon millions of bodies, just here in America. Okay, I had initially thought that the storage was going to be for, in case of martial law and disposal of dissidents and folks that didn't want to go along with the New World Order. And I do still believe that a good portion of them are for that. But to bring us back to population control, right? And everybody knows, right? Rockefeller has funded, all the major foundations, all of the major elitists, Ted Turner, all of them fund organizations for population control. Well, it's also these same elites that own these companies like Baxter and Novartis and things like that, right? And believe me when I tell you their goal is population reduction. You can look at Codex Alimentarius and see immediately that they want to take all the vitamins and nutrients out of food so that they can starve you to death with a full belly. Okay? So you know that their goal is population reduction. It's part of their religion, you know. A lot of folks don't know, but this Luciferian belief system that they all practice and that they get indoctrinated into at the UN, because that's who really runs the UN, is this Luciferian religion. Okay, and they indoctrinate all the ambassadors in, so they get to pick from the very top. They don't have to work their way up. They just snatch the top. You just don't move up in the elite unless you're in their group. So you get indoctrinated into this philosophy. Well, if everyone who's in charge of running your country and running the world is to believe that you need to be exterminated, don't you think they're going to pass things to exterminate you? Don't you think they're going to create crises to scare you into actually going and taking your death sentence voluntarily? Because listen, that's how they do things. When it comes to magic and stuff like that, right? Especially with the Kabbalah and the old mystery school magics, right? You have to be accepting of, in a way, it's like when a vampire comes to your door and they say that they can't cross the threshold unless you invite them in. The magic works to tell you what they're going to do ahead of time, in order for them to receive the benefit from this magic that they are casting. Or in this case, it would be invocation, evocation magic is what they would be doing. So, and I kind of agree with the philosophy, because they are part of this Luciferian religion, that all of these large operations like this really are large sacrifices in order for them to keep their power. And some folks would say there's something keeping them in power age after age after age, because, you know, a lot of rich families have come and gone. But these certain ones have stayed throughout time. And they trace their lineage back hundreds of years. So when we're thinking about whether or not this is possible, or whether or not they would do this, you just need to look at their writings. And I'm going to insert some links to some videos in here where you can go and check out what they say about you and what their plans really are for you. I'm NSM Doc. I want to thank Shepard for allowing me the footage, and I will see you all on the next round.